already. Matthew 25, I'm going to read 31 through 46, a couple of verses, but stay with me. Matter of fact, I may just read down to 40. Maybe. We'll see. If you're there, say there. There. If not, you're going to have to catch up next week. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, this is Jesus talking, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king, which is Jesus, will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me." Then he will say to those who are left, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me, naked, and you did not clothe me, sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they also will answer, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you?" Then he will answer them, saying, "Truly I say to you, as you did not do to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life." I want to speak briefly to you that we're in part 5 of our sermon series titled Focus. I want to tag this message, "Don't forget about them." Look at somebody and say, "Don't forget about them." So our theme for the year is what? Focus. That was 4 people that remembered that, even though we've been preaching it for 6 weeks. The theme for the year is what? Focus. It's focus, the year of complete concentration and clarity. The definition of focus, as we've repeated each and every week, is to concentrate attention and or effort. We've told you week in and week out that we believe that if you're going to accomplish anything in this year, you are going to have complete attention and complete effort. You're going to have concentrated attention and concentrated effort. I believe that many of us did not accomplish everything that God had for us in 2019, not because it was not his will, not because we were not gifted or talented enough, not because we didn't have enough money, but because we were not focused. Okay, whatever you're going to give your attention to this year, that is more than likely what you will be successful in this year. Now, we've had 5 focuses. We got 5 focuses that the church is going to deal with this year. Let's see if you remember those. What are those? What's the 5 focuses? Well, the first one is what we talked about 3 weeks ago was spiritual growth. What? Strengthening families. What's the third one? No, the third one was strengthening families. The second one was what? Linking people to Christ. The third one was strengthening families. And then the fourth is what? Serving Irving. And the last one is what? Everybody should have got that. It's up there right now, okay? So today we're going to deal with our 4th focus of this year, which is serving Irving. And Dale, this is not a popular topic for a Sunday morning service. And you want to know why? It's because we're selfish. Let's just be honest about it, right? The human being is selfish, buddy, by nature. That's what it's all about us. So we will prefer, almost all of us would prefer on a consistent basis to hear messages about my blessings. To hear messages about my healing, and to hear messages about my freedom and my deliverance and my breakthrough. Why? Because of our selfish nature. But what I want to challenge you this year to do is, as you focus on preparing for marriage, and as you focus on decreasing the debt in your life, and as you focus on saving money for your house with the white picket fence and the Labradoodle in the backyard and the Mercedes-Benz in the garage, and there's nothing wrong with those things, but as you focus on achieving those goals and reaching those heights, I challenge you to focus on them. I challenge you to focus on them. Everybody that's outside of your home, everybody that's outside of your circle. I challenge you to not forget about them. When we look at the life of Jesus and we study his life, we see in detail that Jesus was never about him. It was never about him. He said himself that I've come that what? Bible scholars, I've come that you may what? Have life and have it what? More abundantly. He didn't say I came so that you can bless me. He didn't say that I came so you can meet my needs. He didn't say that I came so that I could be free or so that I could bring deliverance. But he said my whole purpose and intent for coming was so that I can meet the needs that you have. I want to look at this scripture real quick. I'm still in my introduction if y'all okay. 1 John 2:6 says, whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. Let me read that one more time for the people in the balcony. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. This is John, one of the apostles who actually walked with Jesus. He wrote this letter to the church, and what he's basically saying is that if you call yourself a Christian, then you ought to do what Jesus did. What did Jesus do? We all just established that fact. He came so that he could be a blessing to other people. He came so that he could meet the needs of other people. What did he do when he saw 5,000 people that were hungry? What did he do? He fed them. What did he do when people who were sick came across his path? He introduced them to the great. What did he do when he ran across the path of blind people? He introduced them to who? The great optometrist. Wherever he saw a need, he met the need. He didn't forget about them. Pastor, who is them, so we can all be on the same page? Here's my definition of them. Write it down, take a picture if you're a note taker. But them is the people that God providentially brings across your path that are lacking in the areas of your abundance. Let me say that again because they ain't got it on the screen yet. Them is what or who? The people that God providentially brings across your path that are lacking in the areas of your abundance. I want us to read that together because you gotta get who them is, because it makes no sense to not forget them if you don't know who them is. On the count of three, we're gonna read this together. We'll start at the people, okay? All right, 1, 2, 3, go. The people that God providentially brings across your path that are lacking in the areas of your abundance. Those are the them that I'm challenging you to not forget. Here's the thing. God never asked us to give out of our lack. He said give out of our abundance. Here's the thing. Everybody in this room has something of abundance. Something. Now when we talk about giving to others and we talk about giving to the community and serving Irving and serving our city and serving our nation and our country and all of that, what first comes to our mind? Money. Right? It always comes to money. But here's the thing. For one, not all of us have an abundance of money. Okay? And then not everybody needs money. So not all of us have a whole bunch of money. Not all of us are making 6 and 7 figures. Not all of us are paying all of our bills and still got 5 figures left after we get paid. Not all of us are in that position. So that may not be your abundance, but that does not mean you don't have an abundance in another area that somebody else needs. Again, not everybody is broke. Not everybody doesn't have enough money to buy food and to pay their bill. Some people can actually pay their bill. So what do they need? It's not money. They need something else. Whatever God gave you in abundance, he said, I want you to give some of it away. When we look at the book of Acts, there's a story of Peter and John. They were on their way to the temple to pray, and there was this beggar, right? There was this lame beggar who was on the floor, and when he saw them, he said, give me some money, begging for some money, begging for some financial, he had some financial needs, so he's asking them for money. And Peter says, he said, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. My money is funny and my change is strange. Listen, that's a sermon all by itself. Just because you serve Jesus don't mean you're going to be rich. So get over that part right there, okay? You can be totally committed and sold out. Don't mean you're going to be rich, okay? That's just, Jesus himself said, the poor you're going to always have with you. And some of them are going to be sitting right next to you in the church, and some of them will be you sitting right there where you are. But anyway, he said, my money is funny, my change is strange. I ain't got nothing. I ain't got no money. He says, but what I do have, he says, I give you. What I do have, I got something. I got an abundance of something, Nikisha. It ain't money, but it's something. And what I do have, he says, I give it to you. He says, in Jesus' name, rise up and walk. Yes. And then he grabs his hand, and the Bible says, he lifts him up. So what he had was the ability to heal. What he had was the ability to deliver him from what he couldn't do to go make money, so that he had to beg. So he gave him tools. Yes. He lifted him up from the space, the place that he was in where he had to beg from. He didn't have money, but he had something that somebody else needed. Believe it or not, even if you don't have no money, you got something that somebody else needs. You got something that can pick somebody up who's down and out. You got something that can pick somebody up that don't have the tool that they need to move forward in your life. Look at somebody and say, you got what somebody else needs. Don't forget about them. As we look at this Matthew 25, now I'm getting to the sermon. Is that all right? Jesus is giving his final discourse. He's about to be crucified in less than a week. And he prophetically gives us a glimpse of the end, of the judgment. Eschatology, the last days, the last times. He says, in that judgment day, Christ is going to come back. He's speaking of himself, referencing himself as the king. He said, I'm going to come back. Everybody's going to stand in front of me. And he said, then I'm going to separate everybody. That's a sermon in and of itself right there. One problem we got in the church is we always trying to separate everybody. We trying to figure out, Robin, who really loves Jesus, who really don't love Jesus, who really saved and who not. But the separation is not going to take place till Jesus come back. So what do we need to do in the church? We just need to keep worshiping. We just need to keep praising God. We just need to keep encouraging people. We just need to keep challenging people. God is going to separate when he gets back. That's not your job. Your job is to go make disciples, not separate people. So Jesus said, I'm going to separate people when I get back. So this prophetic parable that he gives, he said he separates the sheep, those are the believers, those who have been born again. If that's not you, guess what? At the end of the service, we're going to give you an opportunity to give your life to Christ. He says he separates them to the right, and then he separates the goats to the left. These are the people who did not accept Jesus Christ. Maybe they believed. Maybe they grew up in church. Maybe they went to church. Maybe they served on a praise team. Maybe they served in an usher, but they did not give him their life. That's the key to getting into eternal life. It's not what you do in the church. It's what you give to God, which is your heart, your mind, and your soul. The believers were on his right, the unbelievers were on his left, and what he does, he commends the believers for their service. That's pretty odd, right? That's just pretty odd. To me, it's like when I get in front of the throne, when I get in front of the throne and God, and I'm standing before Jesus Christ, he's going to say, well done, man, well done. You was a holy little thing you was down here on earth. You read your Bible all the time. You prayed all the time. You laid hands on the sick. You did all this stuff in the church. But he says, I want to commend you because you gave a hungry person some food. I want to commend you because you went to the prison and you visited some people who didn't have nobody to visit them. I want to commend you because you saw somebody that was hungry and you met their needs. And then he condemned the people that go to hell and said, hey, you didn't feed nobody, you didn't clothe nobody, you didn't give nobody no food, you didn't go visit nobody in prison. He commends them for the service they did to those who were in need, and then condemned them for those who didn't. It suggests to me, point number one for those who are writing, Jesus cares about the church meeting the needs of the community. Yes. He cares. Because he chose to commend them for their service to those who were in need. Why? Because that's why he came. He came for those who were broken. He came for those who were sick. He came for the needy. He said, I did not come for those who were well, but I came for those who needed a physician. And our call is to be like Christ. Our call is to serve. He cares about the community. And it didn't just start right here. We can take one verse out of context, but we can go all the way back to Isaiah. There's a scripture that I love. It says in Isaiah 58, 6 through 7, write it down, go back and read it. Isaiah is prophesying on behalf of God to the children of Israel, and he's speaking, and he says, is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them and not to hide yourself from their old flesh? What was going on right here? He was talking to an Israel people who were fasting, but God didn't have their heart. They were doing religious works, but God did not have their heart. They were pushing their plate back because they know God honored fasting. But God was like, listen, if you think pushing your plate back alone is what I really want, that's not all I want. And God was not denouncing fasting because Jesus promotes it, but he was saying just as much as important as fasting is blessing those who are in need. Why? Because fasting is about you. Fasting blesses you. Fasting benefits you. But he said, I want you to not only focus on yourself in 2020 in this season of your life, but I want you to focus on being a blessing to somebody else. I want you to focus on giving out of your abundance to people who lack in that same area. Thank you for my 3 people who actually saying amen with me. Jesus cares about what? He cares about the church meeting the needs of the community. But Jesus says something that does not make sense to the sheep or the goat on his right. He doesn't say, I commend you for feeding the poor, but I commend you for feeding me. I commend you for visiting me when I was in prison. I commend you for giving me a drink of water when I didn't have any water. I commend you for giving me some meat and some sides and some Thanksgiving baskets, some Feed My City baskets. I thank you for giving that to me. And they were like, I don't remember seeing you at the apartments when we went and passed out baskets with the Feed My City. He said, I don't remember seeing you there. And he said, when you did it to the least of mine. He says, you did it to me. This suggests to me point number 2. When we're serving people, we're serving Jesus. Oh, I hope somebody leaves here excited about it, because right now we're not excited about serving nobody else. Again, I told you it's not a popular message because it's not about you. And a lot of times we don't get nothing out of giving to somebody else. And when we do give to somebody else, what are we doing? We give it to give. We're like, God, I bless somebody. I pray that you bless me. God, I gave my tithe this morning. I pray that you give me a reward. And I pray that if I give you this $100 in this offering today, God, that I need this $1,000 to come back to me 100-fold. God is like, that's all. That's your motivation behind giving to other people, is just so you can give something back. But what is our motto here when it comes to giving? That we don't give to give, but what? We live to give. When we serve people, when we give to people, when we bless people, when we meet the needs of people, Jesus says, you're blessing me. You're meeting my needs. You're giving to me. When you serve people in the community that we live in and that you live in, guess what? You're doing it to Jesus. 3rd point, we almost out of here like last year. A need-meeting church is made up of need-meeting people. A need-meeting church is made up of need-meeting people. If we are going to be a church that has a true culture of giving to the community, wherever God places you, that's where he wants you to give out of your abundance. Where did he place the Link Church? He placed us in Irving. Right? This is where we serve collectively. But not everybody here lives in Irving, and not everybody here lives in this zip code. So wherever he planted you, that's where you're supposed to be the giver at. Wherever he placed you on your job, that's where you're supposed to meet needs at. In your family, that's where you're supposed to meet needs at. In needs in this realm. It has to start with what you do outside. How do we know if you're doing it outside? That's when we go out and do outreach and only 5 people show up. But then when we have get-togethers that have food and stuff, and then we get a whole lot of other people to come up. But guess what? I'm so grateful that we serve a God that gives us room to grow. So even though I may not have been a community person in 2019, does not mean that it's all over for me. Even though I walked in here this morning and I didn't care about nobody else but me, myself, and I, guess what? I can still leave here with a brand new heart because that's the type of God that we serve. I'm glad that he doesn't throw the baby out with the water, but he gives us chance after chance to get it right. Because I know if he didn't give me another chance, I wouldn't be here right now. And there have been a whole lot of times where we missed the mark as being the community givers. But this year, it will be one of our focus. How will we do that, Pastor? Let me give you 3 ways that we're going to serve Irvin. One, we're going to give them resources. We're going to give them resources. Listen, meeting natural needs first says we care more about you than our own agenda. Let's be honest. A lot of churches, the only thing they give to the community is flyers. The only thing they give, if you live in an apartment community, that's big for churches to go out and put out flyers. We even do that, but that's all they give to the community. It's flyers. But there are needs. There are financial needs. There are all emotional needs. There are all these different type of needs. So that's our focus, is to give them our resources. And guess what? The only way we can do that is we need 2 things from you. We need people and we need money, okay? Let's be honest. Let's talk about it. How can we give what we don't have? How can we give what we don't have? And I was writing this portion about this, and I was thinking, I was like, you know, I refuse to take a salary from this church, and we can't give away food to our adopted apartments. I refuse to do that. There's no way I'm taking $1 out of this church's account for my personal benefit if we don't have a food pantry running 24 hours a day, filled with meat in the refrigerator. I ain't gonna do it. Why? Because that's not what God called us to do. That's not why he created this church. He didn't create this church for me to get rich off of. He created this church so that we could link people to Christ and link people together. I'm so grateful that you're a part of this movement, because I believe that God has so much in store for us beyond what any of us could ever imagine. So one way that we're going to serve Irvin is to give them our resources. And one of the things that I want to do, that I've talked about for about 2 years now, is I want to take our Thanksgiving Feed My City and turn it into this full-year food pantry. That's our goal. Even with our giving campaign right now, we set aside and allotted a certain amount of money that's going to go to filling up our food pantry. And the moment we're able to fill that kitchen up and fill the deep freezer up with meat, we're going to create the graphics. We're going to put them out, the flyers out of our apartments, and saying, hey, one Sunday a month, once a week, however we decide to do that, that you're going to be able to come in and get food. But we don't want to just provide food. It's not going to be the Feed My City food pantry. It's going to be the Feed My City pantry, because we want to have diapers. We want to have wipes. We want to have hygiene products. We want to have toothpaste. So you may come in here on a Sunday morning and you can't even get no toothpaste because of things that's going on in your life. Guess what? You ain't even got to worry about it, because we got you. That's the church that we want to be. That we just don't come together. The only thing that you can get from us is a word and a prayer. But we want to be able to bless your whole house in every area. This is just where we want to start. But I promise you, we want to buy houses for some people. We want to buy some cars for some people. But we got to start where we are and what we have. And I believe that when God sees that we can be faithful with the little that we have, he says, I promise I'll give you much more than what you have at that moment. So we want to give our resources in serving Irvin. The second thing we want to do in serving Irvin, do it too, we give them love. We give them love. Can I do a test real quick? When I count to 3, I want everybody in here to spell love out loud, okay? 1, 2, 3. T-I-M-E. Woo, we got some smart people that have been here for a little while, but somebody was like, L, and then they stopped. I don't know the answer to that right there. And some of you was like, I ain't been here that long, but I've been here long enough to know Pastor trying to trick us right there, okay? So I'm just not going to say nothing. We spell love T-I-M-E. If we're going to serve the community, we got to give them our time. Right? Not on Sunday morning. Again, what we want to do
let me rephrase this. What a lot of churches want the community to do is come into their building. Because that's their agenda. When we started this church and we started adopting apartments, low-income apartments, I told them from the beginning, we're not doing this to grow our church. Because what will happen is we'll go into the first apartment, we'll bring in all this food and these hot dogs and all this stuff in the bounce houses, and we'll go and we'll serve them, and nobody will come, and guess what will happen? We won't do it again because we didn't get the results that we wanted. The results for us serving Irving is not to grow our church. Do we want them to come? Of course. Do we want to fill this place up with 3 services? Of course, yes we do. But that's not our motivating factor. So when we go to the apartments on April 4th for our Spring Fest at our new adopted Waterford apartment, if 100 of them don't come the next week, if the 100 of them don't come to Easter, that's cool in the game. Why? Because that was not our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal was to be God's hands and feet and to go and love them. So if you haven't been here, we go to the apartments, we do a Spring Fest, Fall Fest. We've even had church services right outside in the middle of the apartments in 100-degree weather. Ooh, that was hot. We're going to do that early on, not in the summer anymore. But when we go on April 4th, we bring in the bounce house. The apartment providing the food, we bring in the music, we bring in all the games, the Easter egg hunt. And guess what? While the kids are having fun with the games, guess what we're going to be doing? We're going to be loving on mama and daddy. We're giving them love. We're going to sit there. We're going to talk with them. We're going to say, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? Can I pray for you? That's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to serve Irving. We're going to give them our love. We're going to give them our time after we give them our resources because they know how much we care at that point. They'll bless us financially and give us what we need in the natural realm, and then they'll come and spend some time with us and give them our ear. Last thing that we're going to do. So one, we're going to do what? How to serve Irving. We're going to give them what? Second, we're going to give them what? And last, we're going to give them Jesus. Somebody shout right there. Listen, it's not ministry if it ain't the Great Commission. So after we give them a piece of meat, and after we give them a canned good, and after we sit there and listen to them and say, how's your day going? Then we're going to say, do you know Jesus? Do you know the one who came down from heaven and put on sinful flesh? Do you know the man who walked this earth for 33 and a half years? Do you know the man that can heal the sick? Do you know the man that can feed the 5,000? Do you know the man that can open up blinded eyes? Do you know the man who died on the cross for your sins and for my sin? Do you know Jesus? I thank God for FEMA, and we need it. I thank God for Red Cross, and we need it. But guess what we also need? We also need the church. Because it ain't ministry if we just offer them food. It ain't ministry if we just give them our ear. But it's ministry when we fulfill the Great Commission when Jesus said, go, link church, and make disciples. That's the end goal. That's what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
That's the end goal of it all. It's so that people will know that Jesus Christ is King. Yes. What am I saying today? All I'm saying today is, don't forget about them. This year in 2020, that's one of our focuses here at the church. We're going to grow spiritually. We're going to strengthen our families. We're going to develop leaders. We're going to have amazing Bible study, and couples going to come together. We're going to have fun. But guess what we also going to do? Not forget about the ones who won't come in the door. Not forget about those who are needy but won't come in. Not forget about those who are broken but won't come in. Not forget about those who need healing but they won't come in. What are we going to do? We're going to take Jesus to them. It's all good if they won't come here. They still gonna hear about Jesus in Irving. Why? Because the Link Church is going to them. We will not forget about them. Somebody shout, God, I ain't gonna forget about them. Give God a praise and stand to you.